Hi, I'm Chanel, one of the journalists at Manx Radio. Welcome to the latest edition of Manx Radio Newscast.
So I'm John Knight, I'm Chief Executive of Hospice Isle of Man.
And I'm Mary Doyle, Chief Executive of Cruse Bereavement Support on the island.
Right now, next week, so this is going to air on Monday. So it's the start of National Grief Week. Is it National Grief Week?
It is National Grief Week,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, so it's the start of National Grief Week. What does this mean for residents on the Isle of Man as well as each charity?
Well, clearly it's not for me to speak on behalf of Cruse, but I think both Hospice and Cruse are involved in that area of professional work on a daily basis. And what's really lovely for me is that we're going to undertake this initiative together. I think it's good for us to work together for the benefit of families and patients and so forth. And it's also good for the voluntary sector more widely. And I think government to see that charities are increasingly collaborating on events.
Would you like to add on, Mary?
Well, just National Grief Week, the theme this year, Cruse has done it for a couple of years, as I'm sure Hospice have, but we've worked together on this one. And really what it is the theme this year is shining a light. So we'll be doing a kind of social media campaign to open up those conversations, shining a light on thinking about somebody who's bereaved in whatever capacity and how you can help them.
How beneficial is it to have both charities actually partnering up together or tagging along together and doing the work that y'all are doing this year? During this week, sorry.
We always collaborate. Obviously, I know John quite well, I know Hospice quite well, and I think it's important that we do work together because ultimately what we're all trying to do is put the client, patient at the centre, the service user at the centre of everything we all do. You know, anyone who works in the charitable sector, that's their main objective, is to care for the person. So I think shining a light on grief this week in particular will make people think we really do care. We're a very small community, and the more we're seen and work together, the better it is for them.
Yeah, and of course the outcomes for the patients or the families is accelerated because of the shared expertise, and I think for the professionals, far more than myself at the delivery end of a service like this, it's great that they can share that professionalism and expertise and listen to each other and see different approaches. So for me, that's a real positive.
And I understand there's also a coffee morning that's going to take place this on Friday. Thursday, sorry.
Thursday, the 5th of December at the Santander Work Café. We're doing a grief cafe together, Hospice and Cruse Bereavement. But I must stress it's not for people to feel they need to open up, or there won't be bereavement volunteers there from Cruse. It's more that they come along, find information. We're quite pleased in a way that it's actually been held in somewhere that's quite corporate, because sometimes that audience is quite hard to get to. So we'll be in a private area that people can come along, pick up information about both organisations and discreetly take some information away and think, actually, maybe I do need support. And a lot of the work around grief is if you don't do something about it, it can cause lifelong problems. So it's important that you shine a light on it and have that conversation and just picking up the leaflet. We won't be giving support, but at least they can say, OK, I've picked up a leaflet and I need to do something about it.
Would you like to add on there?
No, I feel like I'm sitting next to somebody far more informed than myself. I mean, I did say at the beginning that I'd just be keen to mention this relatively new group we have called the Social Gents Group, and that meets on a Friday. It's for men who have lost their partner within hospice or anticipating the loss of their partner within hospice, and Mary and Cruse signpost to us as well. And it is gathering momentum really nicely, actually. We've got a wonderful guy called Nick Morehouse who runs it, who's just got that sort of character that supports and encourages those individuals. So, yeah, that's a really nice development that's going along as well.
And there's a lot of research showing that an adverse ageing well detrimental experience can be if you lose your partner late in life, and it is open to men at the moment, but I think really looking at how you can provide that support if you do, are widowed quite late in life, and the support around them. But I think it's quite a wide age group you have, isn't it, that come along to it. So
changes all the time.
Yeah, so I think it's really good, and we're a small community, and ultimately we need to support each other. So I think if we know there's an adverse childhood experience if you do lose a partner, a significant person in your life for a child, like a grandparent or parent or a guardian. So I think having, knowing and recognising that the more we talk to each other, the more we support each other, the better outcomes for the society are.
How important is it for people to come forward, not suffer sit in their grief alone, come forward? Or have you noticed that more people year on year are a bit more open to opening up that subject and having those conversations?
I think so. From Cruse's point of view, we do a lot of talks in organisations, particularly around traumatic deaths or sudden deaths. And, we do say to people that if you can have that conversation, and I hate using the word open up because it always frightens people. We're basically a listening service, so you can come in and things you couldn't say to your family or friends, you can be very open with one of our bereavement volunteers. But suppressing that, I don't think that's really good. And you might mentally be fine, but actually physically you're stressed, you're not sleeping, you're not eating properly, you're maybe using alcohol or anything of this, or not maybe exercising. So I think being open, and I think since COVID people are more open. Certainly our waiting list is always really busy. We have a lot of bereavement volunteers, but we do day on day get children and young people and adult referrals. So it does show that actually talking about it does help. And I see it myself. I don't, like John, I don't service deliver. But you can see that people are that little bit lighter when they've had a couple of sessions. And I really would think that the feedback we get, that it is very beneficial. So just come along.
Yeah, I would just add that, of course, it's not a million miles away from the natural logic of trust and rapport, communication, relationships and so on, that for those individuals, having people around them or an individual that they feel that they can trust and they can relate to and want to speak to is the most important thing. And that's popping in on a Friday to see the social gents group. You can see that changing week on week, where they've got to know each other, and yes, they want to talk about their loss, but then they start talking about what they can do together and almost progressing on.
John, if I can keep you on that social gents group, is it more difficult for men to open up as opposed to women?
Blimey, you're leading me down a tricky path.
Be very afraid, John.
I saw two individuals in the last year at Hospice, both obviously gentlemen, who clearly were hugely affected by the loss of their wife, and not just emotionally, but in the practical skills of everyday life as well. And I have to say, I'd put myself in that, the ability to make a meal and keep the house clean and have an orderly way of life. I guess, and again, it's wrong to generalise, but I suppose many men will have been out pursuing a career, and a lot of that has fallen by the wayside. So, I was really affected by seeing two individuals whose world fell apart.
But it is encouraging to see that more men are coming out to these social groups. Mm-hmm. In terms of the work that you do, so I know Cruse Bereavement steps in towards the end after a person has passed. Hospice, you're there with the family, leading up to that. Please tell me if I'm wording it wrong here, but you're kind of throughout with that family. Does it kind of help them, like the support that you give that family members, does it help them through their grief?
Yes, absolutely. And again, I would be completely false sitting here not to recognise that Mary Doyle next to me was, part of the backbone of Hospice for more years than I can remember. So she's very welcome.
Very old.
Yeah, she's very welcome to comment. But that is a lot of the reflection and feedback that I see either, in a card or an email or verbally in the corridor. It's that relationship. It's that sense of being held in the arms of an organisation where nothing is too much and people are accessible and considerate and knowledgeable because they've seen death many, many times.
Hospice is a wonderful organisation, wonderful charity. And as you say, if somebody goes through that journey at Hospice and the support they give them, I would actually say that, I don't know the figures, but they probably may not need support afterwards because they've been handheld and looked after throughout their journey, sadly, with Hospice. But, it's a wonderful charity, does a great job. And that's why I think it's important we work together, because really you can have people that, someone dies at hospice, but then actually they may need a little bit of support afterwards. So it's kind of a perfect fit for both organisations to recognise. I think, just go back to one point you said about young men, they are opening up more. We do a lot through different organisations to make sure we do reach them, and I think they realise that it is good for them to talk. It's just maybe done in a slightly different way. Whereas, we're not being stereotypical here, but ladies will chat to their friends quite a bit. Men maybe find it a bit harder to open up. But I do think if they reach out for support, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that actually you're recognising that support and being listened to is a good thing. And no emotion is abnormal, no matter what you feel, whether you're angry, sad, bitter. And it may not be something that you actually feel, but it may be an expression of your behaviour. So you're more angry when you're driving or something like that. So I think reaching out for help, and the whole point of Grief Awareness Week is to shine a light on it and say to people, pop down, have a coffee with us, have a bit of a chat, pick up a leaflet and reach out.
Right. Let's say someone that's going through grief is listening to this interview at the moment. What would be your message to them?
Well, obviously not obviously, but Cruse is a self-referral. We do regularly get people trying to refer other people, and that doesn't actually work because the person themselves needs to be invested in talking to somebody. So they just fill in the online referral. We will have details of all that on Thursday at the Grief Café, but just don't sit there alone. We're going into quite a hard time in the island with the weather, and it's cold and it's bleak, and I do worry about people. And obviously, Cruse is involved in a suicide prevention strategy, and we work with Ali Vonde, and we work with quite a few of the people around that arena. And obviously, every death is important, but you just, don't sit there thinking, maybe I should. And even if you have one session and think, actually, what I'm going through is completely normal, that's absolutely fine. But don't sit there alone. I've been at a couple of services where the grief has been, particularly the Summerland one really sits in my mind, which was 50 years ago. We were at the anniversary, and people were still struggling with that. So it's important to not leave at 50 years, reach out and get some help. And we had 6 bereavement volunteers at one of the service, and all 6 were busy. So people, 50, why wait 50 years? Because that may impact the rest of your life in a negative way. So reach out and get that help and come along on Thursday. But if you need any details, it's on Cruse's website.
Right. John, what would be your message to someone listening to this interview?
I think it is just echoing that, really. It's that first step. That people may be concerned that they are seen to be, in some way, weak or needy or whatever, those difficult words are. But my experience would be that once people do take that first step, they very quickly recognise there's a group of other people who have experienced a very similar situation and are waiting there, going back to the arms around them, saying, come and be part of what we're doing. So, yeah, it's difficult, but I think it's challenging people to say, I will do something about it today.
It's shining a light on it, basically.
Get working up that strength to, actually make that call and say, actually, I need help. Yeah.
And it's not, I often think that it's not, literally opening up and talking to people is not a difficult thing. We also do, Cruse is doing a lot of different types of support. So with our children and young people service, we do mindfulness, we do tapping, we do going to different activities, and actually people talk organically then. So you're not feeling you have to sit in a chair and it's not mastermind, you don't have to open up and talk about it. So there's lots of different ways of exploring your grief, whether that's through walking or exercising or the Gent Social Club or doing something, so you don't feel like you're under that pressure. I think that's what. But death is part of life. None of us are going to escape it. So it's kind of shining a light out and saying, drop in and find out about what we do.
You want to go on to Wear Bright for Cruse Day?
Yeah, basically it's a yearly event. We've done it for a number of years, and we're just asking people to wear bright for Cruse and just think about and reflect on people. And I think it is part of Grief Awareness Week, so it's just nice to wear something to show solidarity and shine a light on grief awareness and just say, so whatever you want to do. We have a number of organisations taking part in it, some of the schools. So if anyone just wants to find out more information, it's all on our website.
On which day is?
Friday the 6th of December.
Right.
Day.
And now I know over the years we've spoken about dress bright for Cruse Day. Over the years, have you noticed more and more people coming out with their bright colours, asking others about the bright colours? Have you noticed more interest around it?
I think to a degree, but we're a really small charity, so and death isn't really a subject people like to talk about. So anyone who's been touched by us will get involved in it, and I definitely found that on the organisations that have signed up. So I think doing a radio interview like this might shine more of a light on it, and people might actually wear wear bright on Friday and think about they're actually showing solidarity with people that have sadly died and lost in their bereavement.
There is a day, is it, and I've checked, it's the same day or different, where a number of buildings around the Isle of Man are lighting up. So we're, again,
Thursday,
very
6 o'clock, Thursday at 6
very
o'clock.
lucky at Hospice that we have lights that go different colours, so there's a unity of a number of buildings island-wide that will be lit up.
Yes.
In
Purple.
Yes,
thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that. So on Thursday...
It's actually the lady from Hospice that sorted this out. She wrote to a number of organisations, so I don't actually have the definite list, but I know it's Thursday at 6 o'clock, and it's part of the National Grief Awareness Week of the Grief Trust in the UK. They're going orange, but I don't know why. I think, well, because probably both charities have a purple branding. So, but she has cut quite a few, beyond both social media feeds and websites saying which ones are doing it, and we're very grateful. I think there's about 4 or 5. I presume they get lots of requests, so, but I think there's 4 or 5 that are actually getting involved and doing it, and it's just showing that. It's also, this week is baby loss. There was Baby Loss Awareness Week and the Starlight, so Cruse is attending that tomorrow night as well. So there's a lot going on. We're always very busy.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio Newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.